I love Pikmin. The original Pikmin on GameCube is one of those special games that I can just pick up and play at any point in my life and know that I'm gonna have a good time. It's one of those games that I'm so familiar with that playing through it again is like watching one of your favorite movies while eating comfort food in your pajamas. It just feels right. We all have games like that, don't we? And there are lots of other games that fit this bill for me. A lot of them are games that I grew up playing over and over again. There's dozens of them. Pikmin 2 and 3 are also these kind of comfort games for me, but I plan on talking about them along with many more of my favorite games in future videos. Today, let's focus on why I love Pikmin 1. Like, the first one. Yeah. Pikmin is a game where you play as a little alien guy named Olimar. One day, Olimar's spaceship gets hit by an asteroid, causing it to break into pieces and crash land on a mysterious planet, inhabited by these little plant-animal hybrids that Olimar dubs Pikmin. You'll work together with the Pikmin to solve puzzles, fight enemies, and recover Olimar's 30 missing ship parts. The only catch is, you only have 30 days to do this before Olimar's battery-powered life support system dies out. This setup provides a really cool sense of urgency that isn't really present in the same way in later entries in the Pikmin series. The 30-day time limit can seem a bit intimidating your first time playing through Pikmin 1. I remember my first run of this game back in the day, I actually used all 30 days to find every ship part. The pressure was really on getting through that 5th area and fighting the final boss, knowing that I wouldn't get a good ending if I had failed. This made my first time playing Pikmin 1 even more memorable, and it also made me want to play through the game again to see how quickly I could gather all of the parts now that I knew where they were. That aspect of Pikmin 1 is what really makes it stand out on its own amongst its excellent sequels, which pretty much improve upon the Pikmin formula in every way. I played Pikmin for the first time back in the summer of 2009. Up until that point, my only experience with the series was Olimar's appearance in Smash, but that wasn't enough to interest me in the games that he was from. One day, my family and I went to my uncle's house, and 2 of my cousins were crouched around a tiny little TV playing Pikmin 2's battle mode together. It was unusual for my cousins to ever introduce me to games since I was older than both of them and generally the one who influenced their taste in games, but this happened to be one of those rare occasions where it was the other way around. I joined them for a few rounds and it wasn't long before it just clicked, and I remember thinking, I need to get these games for myself. The next day, I rode my bike to our local GameStop, and luckily they had copies of Pikmin 1 and 2. Only one of each though, so of course I bought them both and I was so excited to get home and play them. This was back before GameCube games costed more than putting your kids through college, and I remember paying $15 for Pikmin 1 and somewhere around $20 for Pikmin 2, which is an incredible deal compared to what they go for today. I have such a clear memory of playing this game for the first time. It was a hot, sunny day, and I was super tired from riding my bike home from the game store. I went up to my room and opened up the window, got comfy in my beanbag chair right in front of my old CRT TV, and popped in the game. I miss that setup, but at the same time I don't. I remember that beanbag chair used to mess up my back as a kid, so I can't even imagine what kind of pain I'd be in now. My original copy of Pikmin 1 here initially came with a manual that the previous owner decided to rip the front page off of. This bothered me so much as a kid, and I always had my eye out for a replacement manual. Luckily, I managed to get one in a huge box of games that I found at a garage sale around 5 years ago. Around 3 years ago, I also started buying Japanese versions of a lot of my favorite games because I was studying Japanese in school, and also they just look really cool. I bought this JP copy of Pikmin when I was studying abroad in Japan for around $10. Most retro games in Japan are still pretty cheap unless they just didn't sell very many copies and then became popular later on. Also, scalping and reselling games isn't really a common practice there because of how readily available retro games still are in most game stores. But yeah, so yeah. But despite owning multiple physical copies of this game back home, by back home I mean in America, I currently live in Japan for those who don't know, and of course I didn't bring all of my games to Japan with me. That would be dumb. there wouldn't be enough space in my suitcases. But anyway, I don't have my original copies here in Japan, obviously, so I had to go about rebuilding Olimar's ship, the SS Dolphin, through other means in order to capture footage for this video. And after a little bit of elbow grease, the Dolphin is up and running better than ever. I don't even notice a single hiccup. I'm talking about the Dolphin emulator, by the way, which is the best way to play GameCube and Wii games in the modern day without spending a fortune on original hardware and games with stupidly inflated prices due to collectors and resellers. By the way, you aren't hurting the industry by emulating old games that Nintendo doesn't sell anymore. But anyway, enough of that. I had a lot of fun playing through Pikmin again for this video. It's actually been a really long time since the last time I played through it. A couple years ago, I watched my younger sister play through it herself. Pikmin is one of those game series that we've always enjoyed playing together, which makes it feel even more special to me. It was really cool seeing how good at the game she had become since we were kids. She always preferred the Wii version though. I personally struggle going back to Wii games since I'm left-handed, so I've always stuck with the original GameCube version as my way to play. So, oh boy, my mic just fell. Oops. One of my favorite things about Pikmin is the importance of time management. Your progress greatly depends on how much you can get done during each in-game day, which is roughly 15 minutes in real time. During your trek through the game's 5 areas, you'll be taking out enemies, sprouting more Pikmin, and collecting ship parts, all while a timer is slowly counting down at the top of the screen. Once the time is up, you and all of your Pikmin will be forced to fly up into space for the night in order to stay safe from the dangerous creatures that come out after dark. Your daily progress is also charted on this screen at the end of each day, followed by a little journal entry by Olimar that varies based on what you did and the things that you discovered that day. I always thought this was such a cool little detail that could have just been, boring tutorials or stuff that was easily skipped over, but they chose to do it in a way that makes sense given Olimar's situation as the captain of a spaceship stranded on an alien planet. They also use these journal entries to expand on his background, like his family and home planet. As someone who usually skipped through dialogue in games as a kid, it says something that I actually enjoyed reading these even back then when I was just a stupid little 13-year-old. I love the way boss fights are handled in this game. They always feel like a natural part of their environment. Sometimes you'll just see them kind of lumbering around a little section of the map. Others will pop out of hiding and just attack you without warning, like you walked into a wild animal's nest. I almost feel bad for killing some of these guys though. A lot of them are just sleeping or minding their own business, but you have to get them out of the way or they'll go after your Pikmin while they're trying to carry something. This mushroom guy usually infects your Pikmin with his spores, making them turn against you, but in this playthrough he just tried to run away and I killed him almost instantly. Poor thing. But they aren't all this simple to take out. You can only do damage to the center of this spider guy's body while he tries to stomp on you, and I was doing a pretty good job until this happened. The worst enemy by far are these frogs who are all over the place later in the game, and it's nearly impossible for me to get rid of them without any Pikmin casualties. So sad. The environments in Pikmin all feel like they could actually exist in our very own backyards and neighborhoods. Sure, they don't have the same amount of variety that later games have, but I still like what's here. I've heard some people complain about the graphics because the quote-unquote more realistic look doesn't tend to age well in early 3D games, but I think that's exactly what makes games like Pikmin and even games like Luigi's Mansion so charming to look back at today. Of course it doesn't look realistic by today's standards, but it looks like what reality would look like if reality ran on GameCube hardware, and I think that is an art style in and of itself. The same could be said for any other console. Oh, I'm looking at you, PS1. Mwah. Pikmin is a very special game, and I want more people to play it by whatever means they can. The gameplay is super fun, the world is weird and just super atmospheric, and it left a big impression on me when I was just a soft, squishy little boy, and that's something that I will never forget. So that's why I love Pikmin. The first one. Oh, okay, here's my mic. I had it far away from me. Okay, hey everyone. thank you for listening to me ramble about Pikmin for, what was that, 10 minutes. The video's not over yet, though. I mean, it kind of is, but if you want to stick around for some, like, dumb stuff, then please don't leave. Yeah, I was looking back at the footage that I actually wrote the script before I actually completely finished the game, and I didn't feel like adding this stuff in. But yeah, so I was like fighting the final boss, and it was taking me so long. I always forget how hard the final boss of Pikmin 1 is. The final bosses in 2 and 3 are hard too, but like it took me an hour to beat this guy, and I was losing so many Pikmin. I didn't care. There was one point where I tried to I just like lost all of my Pikmin, and I just ran back to the base and got more, and then lost all of them, and I was just like, I couldn't believe how how much I was struggling, especially after I just wrote so much about how I was like so comfy with this game and I was so good at it. No, this game was kicking my ass. Like, it was insane. I'm gonna try to put some of like the funny parts here. I wasn't recording my voice when I was fighting this, but if I was, you would have heard a lot of screaming and crying and maybe some bad words. Sorry, Mom. But yeah, it was funny. I don't know. I just wanted to kind of put some padding at the end of the video to talk about that and show that. But it was fun. It was fun taking on that final boss again. Yeah, I remember. I really this is all off the script, honestly. You can leave now if you want. I just kind of wanted to ramble on for a bit. But I remember watching my sister fight that final boss, and she was traumatized by it as well. It's not easy. You got to throw the bombs in his mouth, and sometimes they miss, and he starts jumping, and it's just, I don't know. It's got me all looking back at the footage. It's got me all riled up again. Even though I just finished playing it like 3 hours ago, like 4 hours ago now. But anyway, yeah, I guess that's all I really wanted to say. Now I feel kind of dumb for just putting this at the end, but I mean, like, the video officially ended. I think I had a pretty nice script, so hopefully you're enjoying hearing some nice natural SuperSamBams at the end of this video. But yeah, so hope you're doing well, and I'm just gonna leave this all in for fun. But yeah, so if you're still here, thank you, and you can go in the description. You can follow me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitch, where I sometimes, I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't really use my Twitch, but if I get a lot of followers on there, I'll become a sexy little streamer. So yeah, follow me on Twitch. And follow me on Twitter, and add me on Facebook. Don't add me on Facebook. And why don't you write me a nice little note in the comments? Give me a nice little comment, you know? Yeah. Anyway, thank you, and have a nice time. Goodbye.